What's going on, Sip Sip? It's Monday morning. It's a beautiful day in my neighborhood. And today I want to talk about racial prejudice, racial discrimination, racial biases, and racial intolerance. You know, because we're quick or people are quick to label people as racist. And they can be racist to a degree. I believe that there are several levels of racism. I believe that I'm racist to a degree. I hate every race equally. I don't look at race as a determining factor for how I'm going to treat somebody. I let their actions show me, how I'm going to treat them. Because I like people that like the same similar things I like. And so I wanted to talk about this because I work in the construction field and it's a predominantly white male dominated field. And so I remember maybe about 12, 13 years ago, I used to work with this guy from New York, and he was a lighter hue meaning tone, color, hue, the degree of melanin in his system. So he was of the clear version. We have dark, then we have clear over here, and then it gets lighter, light, white, tan, caramel, that. So the hue, he was a lighter hue fella from New York, and he had a strange upbringing. We'll talk about that some other time. But one of the things we talked about is we were talking about cutting the yard. And so this is at a time when, I had been in my house maybe 4 or 5 years, and I grew up in the era where we cut our yard. We had an actual weed eater. Before blowers, I used to use a broom, a push broom. And so I was just talking to him about cutting my yard and talking about all the things that I do. Me and my other superintendent, my lead superintendent, a guy named Phil out of Dallas, Philip. So we were just talking about cutting the yard and how we take pride in it because that's the era I grew up in. And so he was saying, well, I don't cut my yard. And I'm like, what? He would say, well, yeah, I cut my yard probably once every 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, because I don't care about it growing high. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, when you cut it, do you trim the bushes? Do you, all the things that I do. And so his thing was, I don't do any of that. I just cut it and just go back in the house. I say, you don't blow off? He was like, nah. So he was shocked when I told him. I said, well, I'm glad me and you are neighbors, because me and you will have a problem. He was like, what? Why would we have a problem? I said, because you don't value the same things that I value. I want my yard cut. I want it edged up. I want it swept. I want my bushes trimmed. And he was like, well, that ain't this. I don't trim my edge. I said, yeah, that's why I wouldn't want to stay next to you, because I want to stay next to somebody that values the same thing that I value, regardless of color. You can be Asian, you could be Filipino, you could be Indian, you could be Russian, you could be from Czechoslovakia, you could be British. It doesn't matter. As long as you cut your yard and you edge it and you like that and you do it every week or every other week when it calls for it, then we cool. If you don't, certain people I don't want to live by. And it don't have nothing to do with skin color. It doesn't. If you are a person that doesn't cut your yard and doesn't edge it, I don't want to live next to you. I don't want to be neighbors. There was another young fella that I work with, he was a little younger than me, but then one day we were talking, and he was saying that he had a hot tub on his patio. Hey, I don't have no problem with that. He was a lighter hue fella too. And he said that, they go and get in the patio or go and grill, which I don't have no problem with grilling. I love grilling. I love putting me some fish, some salmon, some foil, and then putting that, or some chicken or some ribs or some pork chops on the grill. Love it. What I have a problem with is when he told me, he said, yeah, we go out there probably on Friday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, I say, well, do you have your friends over and y'all be drinking, them sudsies? He was like, yeah. I said, well, do you let all these people in your bathroom? Because I don't let a lot of people in my house. He was like, nah, they just go right on the fence and pee on the fence or the tree. And I'm like, I'm glad we couldn't be neighbors. No, we couldn't be neighbors. And so the reason why I say that is not because of his skin color, it's because of his beliefs, because he believes that it's okay for him and his friends to just go pee on the fence. And I'm sure the neighbors, the backyard probably smell like urine right over there in that little area by the tree by his deck. I'm sure it smells like urine. And I don't want to be that neighbor, because me and you, we going to have problems if you my neighbor, because I'm going to come over and say something to you. I'm going to come over and question you and say something to you about this whole backyard area smelling like urine. So, you know, is that a racial prejudice? No, that's just and I think a lot of times we mix those things up. But there are some things that are racially motivated, and prejudice and biases and intolerances that you see all the time, and we just want to strictly just call it racism. A lot of it is prejudice, bias, and intolerance. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a lot of that going around, but a lot of times I think this is taught in certain households. Certain races or biases are taught, because children don't know the difference. If you take a Hispanic kid, an Asian kid, an Indian kid, a black kid, you know, and you put them together in some toys, they just gonna play, because they don't have those biases, they don't have that intolerance, you know. And so it is what it is. But before y'all leave here, or before I leave, I wanted to tell y'all, thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for watching. I would love to have some intelligent conversation, and I say intelligent, meaning you don't get all in your feelings, and it's okay to feel any way you want to feel, right? That's our First Amendment right. You can say and do and feel the way you want to feel. That's your God-given right. I would like for you to hit the like, comment, make a comment. We can have some intelligent conversation, and subscribe to this channel. Sip, sip. Y'all have a beautiful day.